Routing slips. Fabrication work instructions. Lesson 2. At the end of this lesson, you will be able to, number 1, correctly identify each element of information in the routing slip and explain what each element means in terms of production. Number 2, correctly identify the fabrication sequence by demonstrating how to properly fill out a routing slip. Number 3, correctly interpret part routing by moving the part to the correct station. Number 1, correctly identify each element of information in the routing slip and explain what each element means in terms of production. Here we have a sample routing slip from Fabrication. Routing slips provide the operator with the necessary information to perform their task. You will need to become familiar with all parts of the routing slip in order to fully understand what your job requires. At the top is the work order number, which is an internal processing number given to orders for a product. Below the work order number is the unit number. This is the finished product you are making the part for. Under the unit number, we have the part number for the part you are making. Sometimes the part may be flagged for an Initial Sample Inspection Report, or ISIR. This means the part must be sent to quality assurance for inspection. The fourth line is a short description of the part, like this motor mount assembly for a small heater. Then we have the quantity of parts for this work order. This is how many parts you'll be making for this job. Below the quantity is the current revision for the part. This revision must match the revision noted on the blueprint that comes with the part. If the revisions on the blueprint and routing slip do not match, tell your lead or supervisor to have the discrepancy fixed and to be sure you are building the correct part. The order release date tells you when the order was placed into the production schedule. The operation shows what step you are performing in the build sequence. The function portion tells you what will happen to the part at that step. In this case, it's bending a piece of metal for the motor mount. The tooling section lets you know what special tools are needed to make the part. Red dot categorizes these as an RD-8 number for easy reference. The resource lines identify the machines that are used to work on that part. The first line shown here is the actual fabrication labor in work cell 700, and the following line tells you to use the Gasparini brake press. The inspection lines are for operators to initial next to the operation that was performed, the date it was done, and the quantity of parts. This is for maintaining accountability in the building process. The comments section adds a little more information to the process. These are usually helpful reminders from leads or other operators. The Deliver To line tells the operator where to send the completed part when they are finished. There are many elements to the routing slip, and it is a lot of information to get familiar with. So be sure to ask your lead and coworkers any questions you may have regarding each part of the routing slip and the information contained in it. Number 2, correctly identify the fabrication sequence by demonstrating how to properly fill out a routing slip. When you first receive a routing slip with the parts you will work on, look over each element of the slip to familiarize yourself with the job you are doing. One of the most important steps when receiving parts is to check the revision of the part and make sure it matches the blueprint that comes along with. You must be sure the revision on the blueprint matches the routing slip, or you could be making the wrong part. If the revision on the routing slip and blueprint do not match, let your lead or supervisor know of the problem. Now, looking down at the resource line, you should already be in the same work cell as the parts were received, so take the parts to the machine noted on the resource line and perform the assigned task using the blueprint and any templates for reference. Don't forget to take a look at the comment line for any additional information that will help you perform the job for that part. Get your first good part inspected by your lead or production specialist before moving forward. Once the part passes inspection, initial next to the appropriate operation on the inspection line. Now, continue running the job. Check every 10th part you've made by comparing the parts to the blueprint or template. When you're done, mark down today's date and then mark the quantity of parts you made on the corresponding sections of the routing slip. Be sure to take your time until you are more comfortable with the fabrication process and how to fill out the routing slip. If anything seems wrong, don't continue with the job until you can be sure you are not making bad parts. Talk to your lead or supervisor immediately if you have any questions. Number 3. Correctly interpret part routing by moving the part to the correct station. When you are done with your job on that part, check the Deliver To line to see where the part must go once your job is complete. Each work cell should have marked stations for where their parts should be received. Place your finished parts, along with the routing slip and blueprints, in the proper place for the next step in production. If you are unsure where to take the parts, ask your coworkers, lead, or supervisor for help so they can tell you the correct station for the finished parts to go. Before we're done, let's go over the evaluation criteria for routing slips. Number 1. Correctly identify each element of information in the routing slip and explain what each element means in terms of production. Number 2. Correctly identify the fabrication sequence by demonstrating how to properly fill out a routing slip. Number 3. Correctly interpret part routing by moving the part to the correct station. This concludes the lesson on routing slips. Fabrication Work Instructions, Lesson 2. If you have any questions, be sure to ask your supervisor or coworkers for guidance, and thank you for your contribution toward making Red Dot a better company.